are listening to Therapy Plus, a mental health podcast.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest speaker on this episode are solely those of the guest. The content shared is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice or endorsement.
Hi everyone, I'm Angie Kopshai, board-certified music therapist and host of Cue the Magic Sing a New Song podcast. I'm the founder and CEO of the Global Music Therapy Project, a 501c3 focused on providing greater access to music therapy throughout the world. My superpower is with nonverbal kiddos on the autism spectrum, but today I'm simply here as the host of a special episode with a powerhouse of board-certified music therapists who specialize in mental health. Each of them brings years of experience, unique approaches, and deep compassion to the clients they serve. For those who may be new to the field of music therapy is an evidence-based, credentialed profession where trained clinicians use music to support individuals in achieving non-musical goals like emotional expression, social connection, cognitive development, physical rehabilitation, and mental health. To become a music therapist, one must complete a degree in music therapy, which incorporates a beautiful blend of psychology, anatomy, clinical techniques, and of course, music. That's followed by a 1,200-hour internship and then passing a national board certification examination. Many of us go on to receive advanced training and specialize in areas like trauma-informed care, neurologic music therapy, or expressive arts integration. Music therapists work with people across the lifespan, from premature infants to older adults with Alzheimer's, in settings like hospitals, mental health clinics, schools, addiction recovery centers, correctional facilities, hospice, private practice, and community programs. Basically, if there are humans there, music therapy probably belongs there. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a parent, an educator, or someone simply curious about the therapeutic power of music, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
I'm Christine Smith. I am a board-certified music therapist and registered yoga teacher in Virginia. Trained in music therapy, receiving my bachelor's degree at the University of Miami and my master's degree at St. Mary of the Woods College. And I'm also an advanced trainee in guided imagery and music, which is a depth-oriented approach to music therapy. And I have worked with the veteran population throughout my entire career. My work is very meaningful to me because I'm a Marine Corps veteran myself. And I work both in my own private practice and in hospital settings with veterans who are in residential treatment programs and outpatient veterans with mental health needs. And I really specialize on working with veterans who are experiencing PTSD and substance use disorder. One intervention that I often incorporate is breathing practices. With trauma, our clients often need the opportunity to build resources to aid in their emotion regulation and in grounding. And breathing practices can be facilitated so well with the music and be very useful tools for them to use independently. So we practice them within the music therapy setting, and then they're able to transfer them to their daily life. One of the tenets of music therapy is this idea of rhythmic entrainment, which refers to our bodies naturally matching rhythm. And with this in mind, I use the rhythmic cueing within the music to support the breath work. A favorite of mine is box breathing, and that's a 4-part breath. You inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, you hold for 4. And I would support that with a very clear, consistent rhythm on guitar, harp, or piano. I personally love to do this with the Reverie harp. And then I use the melodic contour of my voice to mirror the pattern of the breath. So I'd be moving up as I cue the inhale and moving down as I cue the exhale, using a really sing-songy voice. And then I gradually reduce the cues that I'm offering verbally, moving more into toning and then into humming, and eventually removing the cue altogether, allowing them to really sit with this practice and learn it with the music doing the counting for them, in addition to me, of course, in the initial cueing. And I've used this with a number of veterans, but one veteran who springs to mind is a younger, recently transitioning veteran. He recently transitioned out of active duty. This is a veteran with PTSD. And when he came to music therapy services, he was experiencing a lot of challenges with dissociation. His civilian job often introduces sensory information that is very similar to the sensory information tied to his trauma experience. And so he was experiencing a lot of dissociation while he was at work and then also while he's at home with his family. So he was looking for ways to manage this and be able to find that grounding, finding that reality orientation, and stay safe when he does start to dissociate. So we started with these very functional practices that he can transfer. These are tools that he is learning to stay safe. And music breathing or music-supported breathing, box breathing specifically, have been so useful for him. He recently told me that he was out in a public area with his family and started experiencing some dissociation. He was able to recognize what was happening and tell his family, I need a moment, I'll be back. He brought in the box breathing and feel supported and remind himself that that was in the past. This is the present. I'm safe right now. And now he's actually started some more in-depth trauma work now that he's built those tools in order to maintain his safety. And so I think that's just so important. And it's so functional for many of the veterans that I work with. And an easy way to incorporate this from home is to breathe with music. Oftentimes, music is using patterns of 4 anyway. So select a song that's already using this 4-count pattern that's moving at a moderate pace, likely something that's going to have some more supportive associations for you. And you breathe with the music. You inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4. You hold for 4, and initially you'll have to count, but eventually you'll find that the music is doing the counting for you.
Hi, I'm Daniel Goldschmidt. I'm a music therapist in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a board-certified music therapist. I got my master's in music therapy as well. I also did a graduate certificate in gender power indifference where I focused on white supremacy in music therapy. So all of that leads to kind of my grounding in social justice and navigating the systems at play for anyone I'm working with. I have my own private practice in South Minneapolis where I work with individuals of all flavors, but I focus on mental health. I also do groups and things like that. And I also want to name that I am on the leadership for a street activist band called Brass Solidarity based in George Floyd Square here in South Minneapolis. And that feels like a very active aspect of my music therapy training in a very community-centered way that isn't so much the kind of, hyper-clinical, but more the understanding music's power that's existed far longer than our profession has. The intervention I love to use, and I've used my whole career in all different settings, is the blues. I always start with grounding the history of the blues, that it was started and spread by formerly enslaved folks in the United States, and then got picked up, kind of popularized, and of course led to so many musics that we love today. And culturally, especially in Minnesota, but I know it's common in lots of different cultural groups, talking about things that aren't good is hard. And a lot of people will avoid talking about negative feelings and things like that. So to give a very clear space to do it and saying, whatever you need, it can be something innocuous, it can be something really, really awful. Let's throw it in the song. We write it on the board, and then we go around, and I'll sing it usually the first time, but then I open it up to freestyling, and maybe someone gets to sing and do their own thing. And often this is a moment where a group member who people don't know is a good singer sing, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you could sing. It's a fun moment for people to bond in this musical space. And then, of course, we're laughing and smiling and having a good time. And then I ask everyone, why are we laughing? Why are you smiling? We're talking about all this heavy stuff. And so it becomes this conversation about how do we let out these painful feelings in ways that feel active, engaged, in a way that feels honest and authentic, in a way that's community-centered, because especially in the United States, it's very hyper-individualist, and that's not where a lot of healing lives. And so to do this in community with laughter and things like that is this great way to kind of work with folks and talk about expressing these feelings. Also, by giving people a chance for freestyling, it allows for all sorts of things. And I also have people do instrumental solos with like various percussion instruments, so it's very success-oriented. And whenever I do that group, especially when I did this when I worked in an inpatient psych facility years ago, we got a lot of folks who don't know each other very well, who maybe are scared to be there, and to have this musical space that's so fun but also so real. There's tons of research in music cognition about how music breeds trust and liking and a desire to help each other. And so to do that in a space, I would walk off the unit and hear people who are now closer and have something to talk about because I was there. And of course, the dream of any therapist is that the work we do isn't just while we're in the room, but that it goes beyond that. So that obviously maybe you don't have someone in your life who can just come and write a blues with you, but the do this at home example for this is parodies, is taking a song that already exists and rewriting it about a thing that's challenging. It can be just little bits, like you could do, Stand By Me, and just kind of fill in the end of each line, or it can be a full song parody. It's not just Weird Al. Lots of people have done parodies for a long time, especially in political activism. So you can take the song What's Going On and rewrite it about stuff that's going on because it's weird in 2025. And that's something you can do at home that you can keep to yourself, throw it on Facebook, do what you want. And so that's an accessible thing you can do at home for a little bit of songwriting.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Faye Gutierrez Marhue, and I'm a music therapist accredited, registered psychotherapist qualifying, and I earned my master's degree in music therapy from Wilfrid Laurier University in Canada. Currently, I work as a music psychotherapist as part of the team at Capella Counseling in Toronto, supporting clients with grief, trauma, mental health concerns, and I'm also helping with music therapy research at the Lakeridge Health in Ottawa using music therapy on the integrated stroke unit, supporting groups there. I have my own practice I'm building in Sarnia, Ontario called Blue Water Therapy Services, and I'm hoping to work with more youth and adults navigating mental health. A technique I often use in music therapy sessions is singing meaningful songs to clients. It supports emotional expression as they sing along, it helps clients connect with their memories, and it incorporates some elements of talk therapy as we discuss why it is important for them to listen to and to sing. It gives them a space to process their emotions. I once worked with a client in hospice care who had dementia and was in his early 80s. I also supported his wife during this time. During one of my visits, his wife joined us, and she shared with me how much she was missing having him at home and how lonely she'd been feeling. During our session, I played a song that was deeply meaningful to both of them, a piece they had requested before. I later learned it was their wedding song, and as I played, he began to sing along to his wife. They held hands, looked into each other's eyes, and shared a beautiful moment of connection, one that brought them back to each other, even just for a little while. I use this technique to facilitate a moment of connection through singing and meaningful song. When we sing with intention or choose songs with intention, we can create a sense of relief and release as we process the emotions during the music listening and singing. It provided support both to the client and their loved one. If you'd like to try something similar at home, consider creating a playlist, a collection of songs that feel emotionally safe and allow you to release any sadness or feelings you've been carrying. And then after listening, you can take a moment to write down a gratitude list, a few things, big or small, that remind you of what's still meaningful or comforting in your life. The combination of release and reflection can be grounding and healing. It's a safe way to explore your emotions through music. No music training required.
Hi everyone, my name is Aksana Kavaliova. I add Moussi from my husband's last name, but officially it is Aksana Kavaliova, and I am joining you from Canada, from Niagara region. I am music therapist accredited or certified music therapist in Canada. I'm also registered psychotherapist in the province of Ontario. I work as a psychotherapist full-time and have my private practice as a psychotherapist and music therapist. My journey was quite interesting. I used to be the only music therapist in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and I worked only with children. And I came back to Canada after getting my second master's. My first master's is from Colorado State University in music therapy, and my second is from Yorkville University here in Canada as a counseling psychologist. So my idea was always to merge music therapy and psychotherapy. And now in my job setting full-time, I work at the Family Counseling Center here in Niagara, and we have a lot of clients coming from the community, but mostly from the family and children services in Canada. So it's a lot of trauma, it's a lot of abuse of all ages, doesn't matter nationality. So we have a lot of clientele, young children coming through the foster parenting, with adoption agencies. And it's a lot of trauma, as I said, but music, I find, helps music arts helps to bring this joy into the sessions. And I do use music in my psychotherapy sessions with adults, mostly as listening or maybe some grounding. Sometimes when the adult is musically inclined, we do some improvisation or singing together. But to be honest, the technique that I always use, no matter who I work with, children, teenagers, of all abilities, can be an autistic child, it can be child who comes here for trauma work. I use a song that I found ages ago when I was still working in Bahrain, somewhere on YouTube. I don't even know who wrote that song, who posted it, but it was a song about feelings. It goes something like this. Feelings, feelings, they are part of me. Feelings, feelings, I just want to be me. And then the template, I feel, let's say happy. I feel happy when it's sunny outside. Tam pararam, pam pararam, pam pam pararara. Very simple melody. And we always, of course, write our own words. And I find it's working with teenagers. It's working even with adults. My groups in long-term care homes love doing this activity, this exercise. What I find with children is a lot of them coming here, difficulty expressing their feelings. And all the time we have these goals: identify, express in a safe environment, and, deal with your feelings. So this is kind of like stepping stone, I find, instead of sitting and asking them, how do you feel? Or giving them things to draw. Of course, with drawing also it helps. But I find through the music, they have fun. Like, let's create a song. I was like, wow, I'm creating the song. And so many of them did this song, and we recorded it. Or very often I will invite the parents or caregivers to come into the session and allow them to record it as a keepsake. Kind of like we have 6-8 sessions maximum here because it's a government agency. And it is really a good keepsake for them, and they can continue doing it. And I always say you can keep writing and rewriting this song. It's yours. You do with it whatever you want.
My name is Anastasia Canfield. I'm a board-certified music therapist, registered play therapist, licensed professional counselor, and national certified counselor. I'm based in Colorado. Currently, I own and operate a private practice, but we do a lot of community-based work, have a lot of community contracts in which we bring a lot of our work into different facilities, homeless shelters, hospitals, and we run the gamut. I really specialize in severe and persistent mental illness, as well as mental health that corresponds with criminal engagement or some sort of restoration there. Even actually prior to my music therapy training, I used to teach piano in a juvenile detention facility. And actually under the supervision of a music therapist, which kind of like launched me into the career that I'm currently in. I frequently come back to that as a foundation of my, I would say, informal training alongside my formal training. And mental health, as we've already kind of been talking about, is so diverse and so complex. And I think on the outside, it's easy to just kind of lump it all into one field or one approach, which we have already established. There's so many different ages and experiences that go along with that. With severe and persistent mental illness, it only becomes more complex. Severe and persistent mental illness can be initiated or exacerbated by things like addiction, acquired brain injury, trauma, abuse, neglect, any sort of social determinants of health that impacts someone's overall health can also impact their mental illness. In some of the facilities that I have worked in, we don't always have the ability to use live music aside from our voice because of some of the acuity, some of the risk of whether it's within our group or just the facility's policies. We don't always have access to bringing instruments into our sessions. So I use a lot of recorded music. music. And I know some music therapists have a lot of different opinions about that, but there is a lot of impact that we can still be bringing to our clients through recorded music. And that leads me into a technique or an intervention that I would frequently use in my work with severe and persistent mental illness, homeless populations. There's a lot of overlap there too. And also in some jails, detention centers, things like that. And that is listening to a song, not even necessarily a song that they choose, but listening to a song and breaking it down into its elements. So I instruct them and kind of give them a framework of listen for lyrics, listen for the instruments that you can hear. It doesn't even matter if you entirely know what the instruments are, but just try to piece them out. Try to define how you would say the style of the song is, or the genre of the song is. If you happen to know the song, who is it by? What's the song title, or what are some associations that you have to that song? And the reason why I use this technique is because it's accessible. Also, when we go through our world, there's music everywhere. There's music at the grocery store. People are playing it in their car with the windows down, things like that. There's always something to latch onto there. And this is a grounding technique. So I teach this to some of these folks who may be in positions where they don't get to choose what they're listening to, but they may also be getting triggered, or they may also be in a position of, they may need to access some distress tolerance. And this skill, breaking down this song, requires for them to focus on what they're listening to, very mindful moment. It also requires that they're not necessarily responding to other things going on in their environment or other internal stimuli, which is also something with that population. I've had numerous clients and patients over the years say that that has helped them through a panic attack in a grocery store, or that has helped them be able to remain grounded whenever they are in a courtroom. Because also, not only can they use that with music, but they can use that with other sound too. So they start to access that skill, and then they're like, oh, I can hear the air conditioner, or I can hear somebody tapping their foot, and I can focus on that sound. We all get upset. We all get triggered. We all get overwhelmed. I know I also don't really like going to the grocery store personally, and can get really overwhelmed by all of the decision fatigue and things like that. And so that is something that we can all do, and the listeners at home can access a song that you are hearing or a sound in your environment. Focus in on that. Use that as a grounding, mindful stimuli to bring you back to where you're at.
Thank you, Therapy Plus, for providing us with the opportunity to expand on how music therapy can support mental health goals. And a huge shout out to our guests, Christine, Daniel, Aksana, Cynthia, and Anastasia, 5 innovative music therapists doing transformative work in the field of mental health. Want to learn more? Check out the show notes for links to today's guests and additional resources. Visit musictherapy.org for national insights on music therapy. And if you're looking to connect with a board-certified music therapist near you, head to cbmt.org/find-a-therapist. Be well and keep reaching for what grounds you. We hope the ideas and techniques shared today resonated and added new tools to your support toolkit.